Hello and welcome. This is Little Wave with your stars within. Today I want to introduce a new topic related to astrology, but a different system, which is the chakra system. I'm sure that many of you have heard about the chakras and may know a few things about them as well. I've been studying them with a traditional teacher for over a decade. And a lot of the information that we have here in the West has gotten a little diluted or misunderstood through translation. And that's easy to do because the Western mind thinks in a very linear fashion. And when we think in a linear fashion, we think in cause and effect only. We think in deductive reasoning. We break everything down to its smaller parts, which can be great. Science has done a wonderful job with linear thinking. But there's also circular thinking. And we understand this as we understand the seasons, as we understand death and rebirth, which can happen many times in a lifetime. We understand circular thinking as less of cause and effect, but the interrelationship of all existence. The broader picture, the oneness or the non-duality. So I want to try to illuminate some things about the chakras that will help you to understand it, hopefully from a broader systemic perspective. So what is a chakra? Let's start there. Chakras are an energy. They are a point of light, sometimes envisioned as a lotus, but they're an energy system. And each chakra can be thought of as a consciousness, a dimension, its own mind. Every chakra is its own mind. It has wants and it has needs. And they work together in like a hierarchy. So from a developmental perspective, we slowly work our way from the lower chakras to the higher chakras. In an ideal society, we would be able to do that in a lifetime. It would be expected that the human being can move from the body level consciousness to the highest consciousness. So understanding that our society has a lot of barriers. We're in a time period of a lot of illusion, a lot of distraction, a lot of entertainment. We've been pulled away from the things that matter most. We've been told from the time we were young to compete and to stay in this place of the third chakra. We've been pulled away from family and told to seek power and prestige. We're constantly distracted by, who am I and what do I look like and what am I wearing and, logos flashing at us. Instead of putting our mind where it belongs. The most valuable thing that you have is your attention. There's a reason why all this marketing and all this stuff in society will spend so much money for your attention. Your mind is a reflective surface, and what you focus on is what will grow. And so, parasitic energies want you to grow them, focus on this, money or whatever. But when we put our mind to the divine, to love, to higher energies, that starts to grow in us. Now, we all start out in the first chakra, just like for those who are psychologically oriented, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I think most of us understand that we have to survive. We have to survive here in this body. If we don't survive, nothing further can grow. And so the first chakra, it's mind. It wants to survive. It wants to have. It wants to accumulate. In the proper amount, the body thrives. In the proper amount, the body has the right cycles. Many of our cycles are very important, and I'll talk about those in future videos. But the waking, sleeping cycle, the eating and digestion cycle, all of these cycles are very important to the optimal functioning. And it's easiest to take our energy system high when the system's functioning optimally. When too much energy is trapped in the first chakra, or really in the bottom three is where most people get trapped. It's a grouping called a lenga. When that energy gets trapped and there's too much of it in that first chakra, we can, we can have excess or not enough, right? We can go either way. But we see things like greed, hoarding, overeating, excess sleep. We can go in the other direction where people need to numb out. They don't want to be in body. The body is too hard. So these are some of the dysfunctions that can occur in the first chakra. But its purpose is to survive and then to run optimally. As we move to the second chakra, okay, the self is established here in the body, right? The energy descended when I was born, and all the way down to the first chakra, I got here in this body. Now it's got to come back up. So the next thing once I'm here is I have to relate. Part of survival becomes relating. Our first relationships are with our parents. And so that sets the stage for a lot of our future relating, often in psychology talked about as attachment theories. So we want to understand that the second chakra, this is the water, right? The first is earth, the second is water. So the element of water, it can merge with things, right? So you're merging your water with others. This is a transactional type of chakra. So this is where we exchange. I do this, you'll do that. So it could be a business relationship. We'd make this agreement. You're going to sell me this. It's of this worth. Now, let's say you sell me something that doesn't work, or it's not what we agreed upon. Then the integrity or the purity of the water is very low. And so that's going to, you take a muddy water and a clear water and you mix it, you're going to get a muddy water. So we want to understand that it's very important to keep our transactions healthy, pure, and in integrity. We can't grow further without this basis of integrity. Other parts of the, developmentally, this exchange is happening, with our parents and how we're treated at home and how we come to, believe relationships interact. This is also a romantic relationship and all sexual exchange. So this is where the waters merge. So we have learned to be here. We've learned to be in relationship, hopefully in healthy ways that honor one another and keep the waters pure. And then we move to the fire, to the third. Now, the third chakra is very important because it can all go right and it can all go wrong. It's the seat of the ego. The ego is the separate sense of self. It's sometimes in Taoist writings been called the primal disease of the mind, to the duality, the me and everything else, you, okay? Life coexists as one. Life doesn't know, the plants, they don't know of themselves. They're existing within the larger ecosystem. And we as humans, we sort of pull away from that and we say, I'm this separate entity. I exist outside of all of life. Now that can't be true. You don't exist without the elements. How long would you last without water, without heat, right? We wouldn't last very long without the whole universe and everything in it. But we live as if we would. And so that ego seeks to, in the negative, it can seek a lot of attention. Look at what I am. Look at what I'm good at. Now, there is a need for healthy ego development. If we don't have a healthy ego to surrender, there's nothing to surrender. So if we haven't developed an ego, or our development maybe got stunted, then we really need to figure out, what is this being? What is it good at? What does it have to offer? Part of this developmental stage is figuring out what I'm going to be in the world, what I'm going to contribute to society. So this has to be established, but we don't want it to become excessive, because then we have power problems, egoic problems, arrogance. This is the seat of the sun. And the sun can be accidentally cruel when we get too close for too long. The shape, they all have a shape. I didn't go over that in the earlier ones, but this one's important. The shape of the third has a triangle, and that triangle can be downward pointing. So the heat of the fire is fueling the lower chakras. So it's warming that water, it's, bringing that heat to the first chakra. Some heat needs to get down there, but not this much. This creates a system that's just spinning. All the energy needed for all 7 are spinning in the bottom 3. And so we get trapped here, and it's too much pressure. And we get all kinds of dysfunctions and emotion, very, very trapped in the emotional body. A lot of dramas, and just, a lot of, this is going to cause a lot of problems, because the mind is so oriented only to this life, what it wants to get out of it as an ego. Everything's for me and mine, and what am I getting? And that orientation to life is simply sowing seeds that are not going to be enjoyable to reap. We have to eat the fruit of what we sow. And so that type of egoic existence is just going to continue. Now we might think, oh no, I care about others. Care exists in every chakra. I won't get into this here, but there's a micro chakra within each chakra. So the 4th, compassion, which we're about to talk about, is present in some way in all of the chakras. But what's different is it can be more like sympathy or pity, and then it can become empathy. But when we get to true compassion, the consciousness of compassion, we actually don't feel the need to change others. As is good enough. We don't need to change how others are. We can love them just where they are. So in the lower chakras, we care, but this care still has a self orientation, because we're functioning from the ego. And this world largely traps us in that lower chakra. There's an iron chain just over the 3rd chakra, and it just holds us there. We might even be helping people, but we know that we're the helper, we're the healer, we're the one who did the thing. We're standing up for others. I'm so great. That even that care can continue to feed that downward ego when it's not properly cultivated. So it's the most important thing is getting that ego to surrender. The surrender is actually an upward turn. It's a surrender to a higher consciousness. It is, better than I. Instead of I'm going to figure it out, I surrender to love. It is in this surrender that the heat, as it flips upward, can eventually break that iron chain, and the person can move fully into the consciousness of love. It doesn't mean that we don't peak at the heart chakra at times, but to maintain a consciousness of love is in all circumstances to all people, seeing the divine spark in every being. The consciousness of the 4th chakra is our beautiful saints and sages, right? The ones who are truly holding a heart space that's palpable, that's gentle like a deer. Developmentally, the heart chakra age is in our 20s, and we're, exploring love for the first time. And although the heart, the compassion says, I can hold the consciousness of love, not the ability to love another person or object, because then I need that object in order to feel love. When you're here, I love you. And if we were to break up, I'm angry with you. That's not 4th consciousness love. That's more transactional. That's second chakra, which is where romantic relationships are. This is more of a brotherly love, humanitarian love. This is an unconditional love. So you might think, I'm a humanitarian. I stand up for these people and I hate those people who do wrong. It's not fourth chakra. I'm sorry. You started out there, but as soon as you disclude or hate or find a group that you're blaming, that you're not seeing the divine in, you've fallen out of unconditional. And so this is a state of consciousness. Now, a love for a cause, a person, a child, this could open you by the experience of loving that being, that individual, could open you to being able to maintain the state of consciousness towards all beings. That might be our first glimpse. Now, much like the developmental stage of the 20s, we don't end here, right? It's not chakras 1 through 4, it's chakras 1 through 7. This is the bridge, and it's very hard to get here. So it's very important that we aim for this, to love our families, to do right. These are the proper things that will help to open this. But there's still further to go. And a lot of people will think that this is the end goal. And I say that because, within getting to the fourth, there can be a lot of drama still. There can be a lot of interactional relationship dramas, just like the 20s and early relationships. We can love all the wrong people and get our hearts broken and all the things that we do as humans as we learn to be in the heart. And as we stabilize into a love consciousness, we want to think about how the chest, which houses the heart, is wide compared to the neck. The neck is very small. It's delicate. And so to go higher than the fourth is only the most pure or delicate of love, which is devotion. We must turn our hearts towards devotion, whether that be a cause, a specific deity starts to speak to you. Doesn't matter what helps you to get there, but it can be to life itself. But we begin to move towards devotion. As we move towards this devotional quality, we start to understand the importance of sound and vibration, because as life essence descended, right, in the creation, it is vibration before it comes into the different manifest elements. So the fifth chakra here is Akash, it's called, which is very similar to ether, or the same, just a different concept. Different language. So we think of this as, space, right? Music exists because of space-time. Otherwise, it would all be condensed into a single point. And so vibration exists because of space-time. And so here the spaciousness opens up. One begins to be able to feel their own divinity. Not through the astral realm. Astral realm's actually second chakra, and it's much more imaginative. This is where people are having all kinds of supernatural experiences. And we actually don't really want to do that, because you're expressing or expending your energy in the astral realm, which is fine if that's what you choose. It's not that it's bad. It's just, if you want to go upward, you actually want to contain that energy instead of expend it, so that you can push upward. At the fifth chakra, if you can open up to this state, it's a state of devotion and a state of being, a state of recognition of the divine in all things. This is ruled by Jupiter, so it's the greatest blessing. If we can open the fifth, what a blessing. Sound is very helpful, and working with your own sound. Voice is king, right? Ultimately, all instruments and vibration are good, but working with your own sound, this is also where mantra can become very important, because now we're really working with sound to start to try to open the higher gates. And again, there's a restriction. Now there's a silver chain. And this silver chain is only going to be broken with the grace of the devotion, right? The deity, the cause, the thing that you're bowing to, right? It's another surrender. It's a deep surrender. And if we can get that to open, which is very rare in today's world, right? These are where our great seers are. And we can open to the sixth. Now, again, I want to say a lot of people think they have their sixth open, but what they have is a 6 micro chakras open. And I'll talk about micro chakras in maybe a next video. But there's a 6 micro chakra in every one of your chakras. And that gives you an intuition. And that allows you to be able to see deeper into life. And so you may very well have some of that intuitive energy, some of that psychic ability, but it doesn't mean fully that the 6th chakra consciousness is open. It means you're tapping into it through the micro chakra of another chakra. And again, the psychic abilities, it's an expending of the energy, and that can keep us sort of stuck there because we're not holding the energy in to go upward. So I don't want to go too deeply into 6th and 7th. I think most people are probably not needing that, but I will say that the 6th chakra is austerity. This is where we see the renunciation. It's a natural movement. It shouldn't be like I renounce all the activities I used to like, or I renounce sex, I renounce society. It should happen naturally. That as one is drawn towards the divine, the interest or enjoyment of the sensory experience naturally decreases to where the individual is not craving that experience anymore. And so there's this renunciation that very naturally happens. The person gets drawn inward, their habits, their diet, control of the mind. What we call meditation is usually more of a pranayama, breathing activities. Here, the mind starts to go from the many, right? The 5th chakra is sort of the many, multitasking, able to, kind of be present in multiple dimensions. The 6th pulls it together into a single-minded, a single-pointed, that all that energy becomes extremely focused. And the only interest that a person would have, this is the 3rd grouping, 3rd lenga. The 2nd lenga was the 4 and 5. I don't think I said that. The only interest that a person in the 3rd grouping would have is to merge with the divine. That's the only real goal of their life. They're still going to do their duty. They're still going to live their karmas. But the goal, the aim, where their mind is constantly focused is towards the full awakening of the light within them. And so that becomes very rare, right? Most people are pretty engaged in other activities of life, or they spend some time in spirituality, maybe often when they want or need something, or they're asking for something at the worldly level. This is beyond the worldly level. This person has no further interest in the world of sense and forms, and is going even beyond the individual deity into the formless state of the divine, the absolute. And so that's a much higher conversation to have and could be expanded upon for those who have put in years of work of being ready, but could be very dangerous to open when a person is not ready. It's very important that, we don't want to open things before we're ready. The Kundalini, right, the energy, has what's called sister powers, and they come out and protect her. So if there's impurities, you could trigger sister powers, which could be very severe, mental conditions. So this is really a slow and steady process that requires patience and endurance have to be built in the being, integrity, love, training of the mind, and purification of the mind and body. It's ultimately a rigorous process, but one that frees you of all the emotional baggage. It's like, having a lot of pain is also a lot of work. So it's like, what work do I want to do? The work that just continues in pain, or the work that, even though it's work, will one day lift me out of pain? So minimally, just getting to the heart chakra is such a relief. Even if the person's not very spiritually oriented and that would be enough, life would be much more joyous and full just to break out of those bottom chakras. And that's really what I'm hoping this next series of videos will help to instruct and understand what types of things will help you so that you can start moving in that direction if you choose, and also to start beginning some offerings that can assist you along the way. I hope this was helpful. I hope this was illuminating. If you have questions, leave them below. Please check out yourstarswithin.com. That's my website. I do offer a chakra mentorship program for those who are very serious about this, but I plan to make a series of videos to assist you, and I hope that you will take up this path. It's been nothing but a blessing for me. Thank you.